I remember like it was yesterday.
She just had a stroke.
Oh gosh, a stroke. That should be Sule, that should be me.
My cousin was having a stroke. You're so young, like how could that happen to you? It was actually heartbreaking.
And I think that's the thing. I'm always gonna remember like it was yesterday. It's never gonna feel real. It's still crazy to me to this point how quickly your life can change. You don't really have any control. It started in my mouth. I remember laughing and smiling. I think that's one of my favorite things is to laugh and smile. And, you know, all of a sudden, it just feels as though I'm not in sync anymore. Half of my face is not laughing and smiling like the other half of my face. I can only half smile. All of a sudden, my eyes feel funny. Feels as though one is closing before the other. And still, this can't be real. I went to sleep, I woke up, and it was all worse. I don't know what's happening. And no matter what I think could be happening, it couldn't be what it turned out to be. Then it was my arm. I'm losing sensation in my arm. It's hard to even lift it up. Imagine me. Crazy, wild, always dancing and acting a damn fool.
Gangsta. Oh, gang signs. Hey. Look at me all blacked out, looking like I'm about to roll up with a squatty. Roll up. Bang, bang, gang.
I can't even lift my arm up. Like, nah. Now we got to take this a little seriously. Then it was my leg. All of a sudden, I'm dropping. All I can think is, what is happening to me? I tried my best not to cry. It was though I was drowning. I don't know how else to describe it. It's so surreal. I had to be strong. My mother had always taught me to be strong. How in a moment where I can't control anything else, can I not at least control the way I handle this situation? As out of my control as it was. It's like everything's normal, and then before I knew it, half of my body wasn't mine. Half of me was not mine. You're only half of yourself, and there was not a damn thing I could do about it.
This is the best because she is so beautiful and I like her hair.
You're going to leave one day. And, you know, when you leave, the only way you're going to be fulfilled is if you know you gave everything you had.
I hear God saying this is going to be the year that you see why it had to be you. Why you are the one who had to suffer the disappointment.
Okay, thank you, God, for another year of life. I made it, guys. I didn't die. Like, oh my gosh, I made it. I made it to another year of life.
Why you were the one who had to stick around when everyone left.
When you feel like giving up, don't. When you're thinking about giving up.
It's me. That is me, and don't embarrass me. I'm so happy. Not even from London, and I got my face on something.
Don't. When it look like you ain't gonna make it, keep going.
It has officially been a year since I had a stroke. For a while now, everyone's been asking me to do an update on my stroke and let you guys know how I've been recovering. And I've been really hesitant to come back and speak about it. To be honest, I was really hesitant the first time to put out a video because I just didn't see anyone like me on YouTube or anything like that actually talking about something like this or having experienced anything like this, and I didn't know how people would feel about me speaking about it. And I think also I had such a different experience. I didn't want to feel as though I was being insensitive to anyone by speaking on my experience when for a lot of people it isn't as quick to recover or it isn't as straightforward to recover. So there were two strokes. One was what you would kind of call a mini stroke or a pre-stroke. Everyone's been asking me, did I sense it? Was there any signs and anything like that? And honestly, my life is like, my life for like the past 8 to 10 years has been really stressful. So any additional stress wouldn't have been alarming to me. Stress was just like such a day-to-day thing that I wouldn't have noticed if I was any more stressed than usual. A week beforehand, or roughly about 5 days, I started having a migraine, a really serious migraine, to the point where I started feeling as though it was affecting my sight. The day that I started to have symptoms of a stroke, the migraines had stopped, I think, 3 hours before that. I couldn't walk. I was really unable to do anything for myself. My face was lopsided. I actually lost a lot of my eyesight. I also couldn't speak. It was very hard to understand me. I just remember when I would speak, it's as though everyone would look at me with this kind of pity in their eyes, and it would be so frustrating that I couldn't even speak to tell anyone that it was frustrating. I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me. It really affected my focus. It also affected my short-term memory. As much as I can go into detail about all these things, like the easiest way to put it is I was just not myself. It was just like that, bam, you're not you anymore. Your life is different. That's it. It's just completely surreal. It doesn't even sound real. It really does not sound real. It affected my mental health. I was so depressed, and rightfully so, I think. How could you not feel the strain of being 21 in your youth? You're meant to be living life and pursuing your dreams, conquering the world, and you're stuck and you're dealing with something that you were initially told or taught should happen to someone that is 3 times your age. I think I blamed myself a lot, really spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I did, why me. It really affected me a lot spiritually because of the year I had. It was so challenging to continue to have faith through everything that had happened, and then this was thrown at me and I couldn't pray. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. It's my truth. I found it so difficult to pray. When I did pray, it was just in moments of pure desperation. It was more just screaming and crying like, God, please do something. God, please help me. I can't do this anymore. I felt as though I couldn't pray for myself, but there was still this kind of mustard seed of hope that prayer is what I needed. So even though I felt as though I couldn't pray for myself, I still knew that prayer was what was going to get me through. And even if I can do it for myself, I would still want to have people praying for me. But I think when I left the hospital, that's when the real fight started. That's when the real road to recovery started. Because once you leave the hospital, it's this sense of there is nobody there to kind of baby you along. And yes, I would never want to dismiss the fact that I really had a lot of support from my family and the people that are around me, but they can only understand so much and they can only do so much. When I left the hospital, it really had to be a decision to take this fight on, because no one could do for me what I had to do for myself. I had to make the decision within myself. Okay, what do you want? What are you gonna do? The same 120%, the same 150% that you have been giving to everyone else in your life, you have to give that to yourself now, or else you are not gonna make it. I had to fight to be better and to recover, and I had to do that for myself. So when I left the hospital, the majority of the time I really was by myself. I think that's a dangerous place to be when you are in such a negative place mentally. You are whatever you tell yourself. If you have nothing nice to say to yourself, then you're gonna destroy yourself. And I think that was where I was at. It was such a self-destructive thing, but it was never on purpose. I just had nothing nice to say to myself because I didn't feel anything nice about myself. I was so unhappy. I indulged so much in this sadness, in this depression. It wasn't a get up and get out mentality straight away. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It was so difficult. My only kind of interaction with the outside world was social media. I'm not posting, I'm not being interactive on social media because I'm trying to deal with what's happening in my real life, and I'm losing thousands of followers, and I'm watching everyone else grow and develop and get further. I was trying to keep up with people that weren't even running the same race as me. To be honest, they weren't even on the same track or field as me. But I'm there trying to keep up with these people. And I was so indulgent in what everyone else was doing, what everyone else was achieving. And it made me feel so bad about myself because I wasn't achieving what everyone else was achieving. But I never took the time out to realize that actually those people are not dealing with the same things I'm dealing with. They're not in the same position I'm in. I wasn't able to be a mother at that time. And that above any business, any physical thing that I was dealing with, that was the most heartbreaking thing. Once I left the hospital, they were to refer me to a physiotherapist. Because it's NHS, it didn't work as smoothly as that. It took quite some time for a physiotherapist to actually come to the house and even start my physiotherapy. I'm laying there every day. I'm not doing anything. I'm not progressing. Honestly, I feel as though if I had waited for the physiotherapist to come, I wouldn't have recovered the way I did. I actually went on the internet, researched a lot of physiotherapy things. I found videos on YouTube of physiotherapy sessions, started to do the exercises that they were saying to do. It wasn't easy at first. I could not have waited for them to suddenly decide that, okay, we're gonna make that call, we're gonna come and help her now. I had to help myself, and that was the only way about it. If I wasn't gonna help myself, then I wasn't gonna get better. The fear that this could be my life for the rest of my life, that fear was motivation enough to make me make the decisions that I did. So once I started to get better, I wasn't patient with the process. The minute I started to see any improvements and I started to get better, I was in a rush to just be back to normal. That was a huge downfall, and I think I have to advise anyone with any aspect of their life to really be patient. I was driving home, chest felt like it was collapsing in onto itself. I couldn't breathe. My body wouldn't move. I'm in this immense amount of pain, and I was just so confused as to what was happening. People at the bus stop saw, and they came to the car and managed to open the door and get me out, lay me on the floor, and I just started falling in and out of consciousness. The ambulance arrived, then it was to hospital, more scans and more tests, and then it was back bedbound again. Once I kind of recovered out of that, I was so completely fed up. I just thought, I'm going home. And I was so desperate. That desperation that I had to get up and go home and just be somewhere that I felt like I belonged made me, stupidly enough, go and get a job at Amazon, and on top of that, another job at Parcel Force. I'm roughly about 4.5, 5 months out of having a stroke, and a few weeks after having a seizure, I'm standing up working day shift at Amazon on my feet from 7 o'clock till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the night, driving to Parcel Force and working from 8:30, 9 o'clock to 3:30 in the morning. Also on my feet, not allowed to sit down. And then back again to Amazon by the time it was 7 o'clock the next morning. I could have easily kind of went back into modeling and the whole industry I'm currently in. But the problem was that I felt so insecure about myself. I was still struggling with a few things physically that hadn't gone 100% back to normal yet. So I took on these 2 factory jobs, which definitely was not recommended by the doctor or my family. And I'm there working these long ass shifts. Hated every second of it. The reason I'm saying this to you guys is because I want you guys to understand that if you want something, there is nothing that's going to stop you. Like, if you truly want something, then that desperation for whatever you want, whether it be just to achieve something or to buy something or just anything in life, if you really want it, nothing is going to stop you. You're going to do whatever it takes and you're going to get it. I think a lot of people say they want things, and the reality of it is that you don't want it bad enough. There was one day that I was so scared that I was about to have another stroke. It had been days since I had slept. I was working and all of a sudden started feeling as though my mouth was starting to drop to the left again. And I remember I went on my break and I'm sitting in this canteen full of more than 100 people, and I'm bawling my eyes out on the phone to my dad, just thinking, this cannot be happening. I can't go through this again. This can't happen right now. I can't deal with doing this all over again. There is no strength left in me. The little strength I have is pulling me through day by day, but there is definitely not enough strength in the world for me to have to deal with going through another stroke. Then I went to Jamaica, and you guys saw a lot of that journey. When people look at these Jamaica vlogs and they look at how happy I was and how grateful I was to go to Jamaica, they don't actually realize the amount that went into simply getting there and simply being able to go home. I actually had another stroke scare recently in November. Having a stroke has really made me realize that there is nothing in this world, big or small, worth stressing over. It's easy for me in this moment to sit here and say, don't worry about anything. Like, it's not worth it. Just live life. I know it's not easy. Just take every day as it comes. Let go of yesterday. Don't be in a rush looking for tomorrows, and live in the present. Someone asked me why I fought. Aside from the reason of being a mother and having my daughter, why did I fight? What was the fight that was in me? And I just think I didn't come this far for that to be it. I have gone through so much in my life, just faced so many different things. You know, we all have our story, and we all hold the pen. No one else holds this pen for us. And I couldn't have written the end at the end of I had a stroke. That couldn't have been it for me. Everything that I had been through prior to that stroke, plus adding that stroke on top of it, that had to have a meaning. It could not have been meaningless. I could not have had this baby so young and been through all these trials. I could not have faced all these mental illnesses and faced all these different things for it not to mean something. It had to mean something, and the only way it was going to mean something is for me to make the decision that that was what it was going to be. I had to make that decision. No one was going to make it mean something for me. No one was going to congratulate me for being alive. I had to do that for myself. I had to decide, okay, I'm not throwing everything away. I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep fighting because my life is more than this. It was all or nothing at that point. It was as bad as it could get. There was no other way to go but up. It was either I was gonna lay there and let it be like that. But you know what? As many times as I cried, as many times as I thought, oh my gosh, God, please take this from me. I can't deal with this. I want to give up. The amount of times I contemplated suicide because I just did not feel as though I had the strength. As many times as I asked God to take it away from me, I look back now and I'm so glad He didn't, because if He had taken it from me, if He had stopped pushing me, if I had stopped having these trials thrown at me and all these tests thrown at me, then that would have meant that I was all that I could be. There were no more lessons to be learned. There was no improvements to be made. I was at the point where I was all I could be. And I know within myself that there is so much greater for me, so much more of a greater purpose, that where I was at could not have been my defining moment. That could not have been all I could be. I say this with all humility. I really say this in the humblest way, but I know that I was called for something so much greater than myself and so much greater than where I am now. So if you ask me why I fought because there was no other option. There will never be any other option. I've been faced with death so many times, and somehow, some way, I'm still here. So, you know, as annoying as I might be to a lot of people, God ain't taken me yet. I'm still here. Hey! In all seriousness, without God, I really would not be here. You know, scrap the whole video. Delete everything. Delete all the footage. The only thing they need to know, how did you recover? God did that. Yes, He did that. He's been that guy.